You're on, Mike.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Township of Whitewater Region regular council meeting for Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020 at 4:46 p.m. Please stand for the prayer. Almighty God, we give thanks for the great blessings which have been bestowed on Canada and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and peace that we enjoy. Give us in our deliberations as township councillors and strengthen us in our awareness of duties and responsibilities. Grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to preserve the blessing of this country and for the benefit of all, to make good laws and wise decisions. Amen. Okay, so moving on to number 3, disclosure of interest. Any pecuniary interest for this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, public presentations. Ontario Provincial Police, and we're supposed to have 2 guests this evening. We're supposed to have Commander Stephen Neufeld and Commander Don Ferguson, Upper Valley and Renfrew. No, can't hear them yet. Good afternoon, Commander. Can you hear me? Okay, we can't get him to maximize. We can only get him minimized. No, he's still small. We can't see him. Okay. Commander Neufeld? Oh, there we go. Oh, just a minute. No. Oh, there. We can hear you now. Okay, and we got you on live screen now, so we're good to go. So you have the floor. Thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Okay. Okay. Commander Neufeld, you can go ahead and start presenting whatever it is you have in front of you.
Have we done the introductions already to Commander Ferguson? This would be her first meeting.
No, that would be very good because none of us know her. Well, at least I don't, and I'm the mayor, so if she is with you, or is she on another screen?
Can you not see her?
Yes. Clerk, can we get...
She doesn't come forward until she talks.
Okay. Commander Ferguson, can you speak to us, please? So maybe you will come front. Okay. That's good. Thank you. We heard you, and now you are you're splitting a screen with your counterpart. So as you speak, then you will stay in our screen.
Ladies first, of course, and I can jump in wherever.
Okay. Everyone, I just want to I apologize that this is our first meeting. Hopefully it's not been friendly to my appointment here in Vancouver, but I've got to work through it as everybody else is. I've been here now for about 9 months, and things are starting to even happen go smoothly. So, yeah, things are good. I apologize for not getting out there, but as we all know, we're going to have to meeting police. I do have our third quarter stats for you if you would like to hear just a kind of brief summary of what we have. So proposed service for the third quarter, we're down 507,000.
Okay. Test, test. Okay, that's better.
Did you hear the inspector's report?
Yes, we did, and we're just going to open it up to questions now. We got some feedback here, so we had to get some volume turned down. Councillor Jackson has a question in regards to your report.
You had mentioned something about a big incident in Cobden and that you would elaborate further if questioned. I just would like to know what that was.
It was an attempted murder back in July. I can't go into details because it's still an active investigation before the courts. But we had two people visiting from outside the area, tender residents, and a domestic dispute ensued and outlashed from that. So there's probably about 8 charges, significant charges that would fall into your violent crime category, including sexual assault, attempt murder, assault, and I think various threats charges as well.
Okay, so these are, sorry, are these billable to us because they're criminal or not?
They're available.
They're billable, yes.
Okay, sorry. Councillor Jackson, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think any of us councillors were aware of that situation at all. Of course, with limited newspaper resources and that we have in our township, I wasn't aware of that situation. Thank you for the update.
Anyone else with questions? Seeing none. I only have one. Are our stats on par with last year, or are we down a wee bit?
In comparison, I ran the year-to-date up to this point, and we're down considerably compared to 2019.
So that's one good thing. That's one good thing about COVID then? Everybody's behaving themselves?
I think currently year-to-date we're down almost 610 hours.
Wow. Okay. Yes, please. to turn your audio off. Test, test. We're getting the feedback. Okay. Something's happened. Sean, are you logged in? Sean? Oh, other Sean, sorry.
No, I'm just gonna cut my video feed off and see if just the voice works.
Okay, test, test. Test, test. Test, test. Okay.
Council chambers hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Looks like their mic shut off on their end.
Okay, but we lost your picture. We do have a question from a council member. Councillor Nicholson, but stand back from your mic. Go ahead.
Can they hear me?
I think they can, yeah. We lost their picture, but they can still hear us.
Inspector, can you hear me? Mayor, if I could just, maybe we take a 2-minute recess and see if we can reconnect this.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We'll take a 4-minute, see what's up. Oh, there, we can hear you now. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. I'm just gonna leave my video off
Okay.
and see if that makes it any better. We'll just do it through the audio, if that's all right.
Yep. It's good for now. We do have a councillor with a question, but we did say we're going to take 2 minutes and try and figure it out, so.
Their mic's muted again.
Can you hear us now?
I said I was gonna leave the video off and just do it through the audio, if that would make a difference.
Yeah, it appears to be making a difference, so yeah, we'll go that route. We'll go just audio. And we do have a councillor with one question, so we'll go ahead with that question and, no?
But none of the mics are on. So now that you're gone, it's not.
Just my mic is on now.
So I would just, I'll email.
I turned mine on for a second when he said
Oh,
try.
Mayor's is on.
Yeah, mine is on. Okay, commanders, can you hear Whitewater now? Commander Neufeld?
There's not even an ability to send.
Commander Ferguson, can you hear me? Okay.
No, I don't think you are. I think that's one
Okay, Commander, if you can hear me, we're going to drop you. We're having audio difficulties.
Yes, because he went on.
I did log out.
Okay, well, when he did that.
Okay.
We kind of.
Can you hear me now?
I wonder if I should just pop in there on my way home.
No.
No, thank you.
Well, I drive right through there.
Commander Neufeld, can you hear me?
But in the corner, bottom left-hand corner.
Just kick them out, honey. Just kick them out of the call.
Commander Neufeld and Commander Ferguson, we're going to cut you off now. Thank you, and we will touch base.
Just tell them.
Recommend that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region receive the quarterly 2020 administration report for information purposes. Motion and a seconder, please. Councillor Olmsted and Reeve Rigier. And this goes to Sean, I would assume? Or goes to the CAO first?
Yeah, I'll start, and I'll just, if somebody can just let Guy and Jonathan and Jordan know that I'll cover their spots. So, Sean, can you just send them a quick email if you don't mind? So it was a busy summer, and COVID was a part of that with the shutdown. I know we forget about it, but the shutdown and then the restart. Some big projects, and I know that team members will speak to this, but the Cobden boat launch got finally repaired. Powers Road was substantially completed. We started broadcasting live on the township's YouTube page, adapting to COVID, and just like this presentation today, hybrid meetings have technical requirements, and so we're learning from it. The stage and band shell were completed in Veterans Memorial Park, and council has agreed to name that after Patsy Moore, a former member of our staff team that passed away due to cancer. And we launched our first annual Volunteer Appreciation Awards for Lifetime Achievement, Youth and Adult. And I just want to thank also the summer students for all the wonderful work they do. Before we get into the other sections, I'll just note from my stuff, I want to note that we continue to work as a staff team working with other municipalities to see where we can collaborate. And we also did some follow-up training on the employee code of conduct and reiterating to our staff team our corporate values, our mission, vision, and that stuff, and what we expect of our staff team. So the first one up would be Ivan with community development.
Thank you so much. So just reviewing planning, building, economic development, and tourism. Council did review a total of 9 development applications through the third quarter. I will note Council also adopted the terms of reference for the Committee of Adjustment. While we don't have a summary of the applications here, it will come in the next report, but the committee's already met 3 times and it's been functioning very well for variance and consent review. As it relates to building, there were 90 permits issued, 35 of which were for septics and 9 for new homes in the community. Total construction value just upwards of $5 million. Economic development, we've approved through the review committee 6 CIP grants throughout the community. And we've also issued letters of support for the local communication companies, NRTC and Cogeco, for the ICON funding program from the province. And lastly, in relation to tourism, we did have a developer come forward to council for a delegation at 503 Rafting Road, and we unfortunately did not proceed with the Taste of the Valley due to the COVID-19 situation. Thanks.
Any questions on that? Okay, thank you.
I'll take it from there. With finance and administration, I'll be brief here. So just a few different highlights. As of September 30th, we had about 24 percent of the previous water bill. However, all current water bills outstanding was about 9%. So I think that's the big number in terms of collection. And just kind of on a finance team note, is as we're trying to move and digitize, we have 21 vendors now that are signed up for, or we added 21 vendors, so which brings us to 56 total vendors to be signed up for EFT payments. And then, so what that correlates to is during the quarter we wrote 321 checks, which is down from 519 total checks from the year before. So we had 128 essentially EFT payments, so we're trying to move in that direction. We're having a pretty good response from a lot of our regular vendors. And then just on another note, sometimes we talk about how building is busy and the sales in the township are busy. And just to put in perspective, during this quarter, we had 105 tax certificates issued. That's up from 55 from the same quarter. So for some council members that might not know, is when real estate sales happen, the lawyers for the purchaser and or the seller order a tax certificate. So this essentially shows that there is real estate moving and properties are moving in this area, so that we're almost double the amount of tax certificates from that quarter from year to year. So that just another to put that in perspective. So with that, I'll just pass it back to the chair for questions on this part.
Okay, any questions? 105 tax certificates does seem like a lot for a quarter. You'd almost think of that for a year, but not a quarter.
Yeah, the printer and scanner has been busy.
It's good though. People are moving in. That's good. No further questions. We'll move on to the next.
So under corporate management and legislative services, there was a slow due.
Having issues. If it's okay, you can leave, and I will have council follow.
There was a slow with COVID in terms of lottery licenses, but we have seen an uptake now in this quarter as groups start to fundraise again just to kind of make it through the pandemic. And you saw 20 burial permits and 17 commissions. Under health and safety, what's important here,
Well, I'm going to shut this down then, okay?
just mute him if you can.
I'll touch base with you tomorrow still.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, have a good.
You too, bye.
No, that's okay. So WSIB emergency first aid, CPR level C, and defibrillator courses were offered. So we have 19 staff members are now certified, and that's a requirement under health and safety requirements. And we have COVID-19 workplace guidelines that are continuously updated as issues occur. And if I can, I'll jump into Parks and Rec, and if there are any questions, because Jordan was going to join us online just to try to keep the number of people in the room down, but I'll cover his stuff. Decisions on our arenas, as you know, summer ice was delayed in Beachburg, but what's come out of this is there's been some good information sharing amongst members that have arenas in the county of Renfrew. And staff met with user groups early on when there was a lot of uncertainty to meet with them to talk about the protocols, and those protocols have evolved. And I'm happy to say, just a good news story, that the dressing rooms are now being able to be used. We received 2 foggers that allow us to clean those rooms and disinfect them while maintaining physical distancing and protecting staff. So that's a good news story for our user groups. And as I said, those protocols are being updated constantly as new direction is provided by the health unit or the province. So the Cobden Arena startup occurred on September 4th, and as you know, decisions were made on the other 2. In terms of the community recreation grants, most of the funds have not been used, but the review team, which is the council lead for recreation, the treasurer, the CAO, the manager, and the mayor, did approve 5 grants in total. And you did receive a report at the last meeting about the outstanding balance of $10,100. Parks and trails, again, COVID required us to be required some measures for us for cleaning of our outdoor washrooms. We did utilize our 3 park students for summer maintenance of parks, but also beaches. And again, just to reiterate, the Muskrat Boat Launch saw finally its improvements, and we want to also officially thank the Cobden Civitan Club for their $5,000 donation towards the work, and that was as a result of their fundraising with their fishing derby. And I noticed that a poster is out for this year's edition already, so if you're thinking fishing derby, it's upon us. Any questions on ledge or parks before moving on to protective and fire services?
Any questions? I have one for Parks and Rec. Any thought given to, over the Christmas season, having public skating, and if so, what is required?
So I did speak to Jordan, and he mentioned that they're planning on starting public skating shortly, and we'll do a follow-up report at the next regular meeting on December 16th on the timing of that based on where we're at in terms of health protocols.
Because I do assume we'll have to do a lot of advertising for the first week or two till residents get used to the protocol, whatever that will be.
Yeah, and fitting the time in based on our other demands, and then also meeting health unit protocols.
Okay, thank you. No other, oh, Councillor Umstead?
Yeah, thank you. Just under Parks and Trails, Rob, the Algonquin Trail, I know that work was completed on Algonquin Trail to extend it about another kilometre towards, I believe it's Turcotte Side Road. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Civitan either gave or was giving funds towards that as well. And there was discussion about naming, like naming rights or naming a piece of the trail. Do you know anything about that?
No, I do know that the county has been able to complete some portions of the trail. The member of Civitan on council might be able to add, but it would be any naming of that would be through the county because it's the county's property.
Great, thank you.
Councillor McLaughlin might be able to add to that.
Just to try and clarify, I don't think Civitan, I know there was money to be given, but I don't think it ever went forward yet. So I'm not sure where the funds came from, whether it came from the county or to have the work done. That's what I know. We haven't had meetings since last March either, but I haven't seen anything come through on an email saying, but there was, you're absolutely correct, there's money there to extend that, to get it finished up to Turcotte Road. I don't know, is it finished? Yeah. Okay, I don't know where the funds came from.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks. I'll follow up on that and get back to council.
Good idea, thanks. CIO?
I'll move on to protective and fire services. So crossing guards, once school resumed, we did have some issues recruiting, but we're noticing that there are more kids or also parents dropping off their kids. Fire services, things kind of returned to normal, but we did have a number of kind of outdoor grass related calls. So a total of 29 calls occurred in the quarter, including 2 auto extrications. And again, outdoor fires were on the rise. A good item is we've implemented the new online fire permit system, and it's been received very well and has been better than the old manual way of doing it. In terms of emergency management, as we know right now, and I don't know what today's numbers are, but we're following the health unit reports. And our emergency control group met this week and has been met weekly at the time of this quarterly report and now meets as required about every month. And then you did get the report on policing, and I did follow up with them to say that we'll follow up with any written questions. And of note, our bill for 2021 is lower, which is always great to see. So if there are any questions on protective and fire services, I'd gladly take them.
Rebrig here, please.
Thank you. Just a comment and a follow-up to the CAO. Just so everyone's aware, we've had 2 consecutive days where we have had 0 active cases, so COVID cases. So we're very fortunate, and that is in Renfrew County. That is correct. So 2 days is that's good. And I just wanted to pass that on. We don't know what tomorrow will bring, but for today, it's a good sign. Thank you.
But that also means don't let your guard down. Please wash your hands, please wear a mask. Councillor Nicholson, please.
I'll just throw these comments in under protective services for follow-up with the inspectors when we have that next opportunity, but just so you're tracking some of my thoughts. The first one is just those 911 calls. I would like to bring up the discussion again about what do we do for cell phone 911 that gets intercepted by a Quebec cell tower and gets rerouted. I think that's still a problem for our border, especially our during the summer months. And I believe that the OPP had been asking us to make sure we pass the message that they use the 188 number, not 911, via cell phone along that border. And I think we need to ask them about that and just confirm an information campaign to make sure we get our summer residents aware of that as well. The second one was just about mental health. Now, I know that the OPP have incorporated a mental health nurse as part of some of their calls for service, and I was hoping to get more information about that. Has it been employed frequently in here? Has it influenced the number of calls for services? By having that mental health nurse part of their team, how is it integrated, and is it being successful? So that was that one. And the only other one was the increase in domestics is pretty significant because we're already over, and it's only 3/4 versus 4/4 that it's being compared against. And I just want to make sure that there's nothing that we could do or influence. I know it's a county, it's an upper tier responsibility, but with the Reeve, to see if there's anything we can do to try to curb that, and if it's going to get worse now over the winter months.
No, I think in that case, when the detachment commander was talking about COVID-related pressures and shifts in types of crime, domestics are one of them. And so people are saying that women generally have been disproportionately affected by COVID in terms of childcare requirements, but also domestic abuse and resources that exist in the community, not necessarily at the county level. So I'll follow up on those 3 questions with the detachment commanders and provide that response back.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McLaughlin?
Just a question or an inquiry on the fire services. I'm just wondering, we used to, years ago, get a detailed list of all the fire calls. And I'm wondering if that could be put in a quarterly report, or if I asked personally, I personally would like to have it, if that's possible. It doesn't have to go to all council, but I do like to look at those.
Sure. So what we have in here is the 29 calls, but we can provide additional information in the quarterly report about the type of calls. I don't know if you're looking for specific addresses or that type of information, that level of detail, or just where the 29 calls are.
Well, just even the 29 calls, what stations responded to it. I really don't, like, as far as having the addresses, it's more, I'd like to see who's going where.
Okay. So I'll follow up with the deputy and the fire chief to see how best to do that. One other one, and in the transition, this hasn't been as smooth, but when there is a major incident, and I know the OPP most times will let us know. For instance, when there was the incident on the highway of when somebody was struck on the highway, I did get detachment commander Neufeld did email me. What we'll try to also do is alert council via email when there is a major call. But there are always in those 29 calls a lot of false alarms, locked door rescue, that type of thing. But I'll follow up with the fire chief and the deputy fire chief.
Yeah, we don't need how many people were in the house, etc. All we need is what the calls were, how many each station had. Is that what you're interested in? We used to get that I know I used to do it. So, yeah. Yeah, there was always a monthly report went to council because there was no such thing as a quarterly report. It was monthly, and you didn't per se give out the addresses or names of people involved. It was what the incident was, how many stations went, that type of thing. So, Okay, any other questions? Okay, that clears that up. Thank you.
Next is Public Works with Lane, and he has Steve and Randy to do their parts as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to pass the first section off to Randy to do his.
The front-mounted roadside mower arrived in July. It's been working very well. The excavator and the brush head also was delivered in August, and it's been brushing various roads that you may have noticed. It's been doing a very good job. We applied A-gravel to Malloy Road, portions of Pleasant Valley Road and Poff Road. The Powers Road construction has been completed and it's ready for DST next year.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, and also the Alaquah Bay reconstruction was completed on time and on budget. And moved on to waste management, which Steve will handle.
Thanks, Lane. So we had a break-in at the landfill in July. That was probably the fourth break-in we've had at the landfill since I've worked here. Nothing serious. We got our refrigerator appliances done in the summer. That's an annual event. We do that. Grinding was awarded, and grinding is just actually finished. That went to Nadcor Environmental. They're out of Barrie area. They used to actually grind. That was the first company we ever had come and grind at the landfill, and we haven't had them for a while, so it's good to see them again. Had our household hazardous waste event September 26th. Very busy because the spring one was canceled because of COVID, so it was a busy day. And we submitted our annual operations and groundwater monitoring report to the province in March 31st. That was due, so that's done. We have Robinson Consultants doing some work on our municipal drains, so that work continues. We also carried out a audit of the municipal building, an energy audit. That was presented to a report to council some time back. That was really good information to get a hold of. And water and wastewater. We had a very dry summer, so we of course asked folks to limit their watering. We also have we got some information from Aqua to do their for our budgeting process. They submit major maintenance forecasts every year, so we have those numbers. So that was included in your budget presentation that Lane did, that Sean did on water and wastewater. And there's a little update on, as of September 30th, on the Cobden wastewater treatment plant and where we're sitting with that.
Thank you, Steve. And also, the last meeting, I came back, provided the update. So the project for the sewage plant, the potential performance will be April 30th, in 21, with final completion of June 30th. And then with the facility management, one of the major project was the replacement of the new water pump at the Forest Falls Library.
Any questions? Councillor Mackay.
My question's to Steve. What kind of loser breaks into the dump? Just saying.
I can't answer that.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Yeah, my question goes to Steve as well, and it was the hazardous waste day.
Mm-hmm.
How it only ran till 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it goes 9 till 1.
Is that all? I thought
That's
it used to go to 2.
No.
No. Okay. Well, I wasn't because I was there and, yeah, I guess it had been quite busy.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Bill and I unloaded everybody's vehicles for them this year. It was very busy.
Great exercise.
Yes, it was.
Okay. No, I just, I guess, in my mind, I guess read it and thought it was the same as the landfill
Yep.
hours. So,
Yep. Yep.
no, just clarification. One question for Randy. The corner of Magnesium Road and the Kerr Line. We need to, I think you need to take a drive there and have a look at the sight lines. Because I think we need to brush that corner.
You're referring to at the intersection.
Pardon?
At the intersection.
At the intersection. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Steve, have we planned on 2 hazardous waste next year, or going to
Yeah,
try with
absolutely.
one?
No, I will book 2, as I always do.
Okay, sounds good to me, because it would, yeah, people do appreciate 2, because they can't always make the one. And my other question is for Randy. Lacqua Bay, I know it's completed, but next year it's going to be on the list for lining?
That is correct. I'll take that one, Randy. Yeah, so the line painting wasn't part of the contract.
Yep.
But we took it out so we can leave it for one season, and then we'll paint it next year.
Yep, okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions? Seeing none, we can move ahead. Thank you.
And I think unless there's questions on the budget variance report, if you want to then, if there are no further questions, to just call the motion to receive the quarterly report.
Does anyone have any questions on the variance reports? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Yes? Revergier?
Thank you, Mayor Moore. I just want to say thank you to all of staff. It's been a tough old year this year with the COVID, and I just want to say thank you for all of your hard work and your efforts. It has been greatly appreciated, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, now we'll ask, Councillor McLaughlin.
I just want to say the residents on the Kerr line were quite happy to see the line painted. I got quite a few comments, and I just wanted to pass that on, saying thank you.
Okay, thank you. Call for a vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we'll move on to announcements. Revergier?
Thank you, Mayor Moore. I do have just a couple that just from the November County Council. So at the November County Council meeting, Warden Robinson, we've got a picture of Cam up here, Warden Robinson presented the annual Warden's Community Service Awards. And Charbonneau's Grocery in Calabogie received the Business Award, and Dale Benoit Zor of Golden Lake and our very own Cameron Dubé of Beachburg were each honored with an individual award. Warden Robinson had asked me to present Cam his award personally on her behalf. Generally, we would come to County Council, but because of COVID and doing everything virtual, she asked if I would present it to her on her behalf, and it was my privilege to do that this week. Now, Council will recall that Cameron was also the recipient of the Whitewater Region Adult Volunteer Appreciation Award in August. And for more than 15 years, Cam has maintained more than 50 kilometers of biking, hiking, walking, skiing, and snowshoeing trails in Whitewater. And these trails are used from Ontario, Quebec, and the northern states, putting Renfrew County on the map. Cam is the founder of BORCA, the Beachburg Off-Road Cycling Association, and coordinates events such as Spring Chicken Race, the Fat and Frosty Bike Race, and the Wendigo Fat Bike Ultra Marathon. And beyond BORCA, Cam leads other initiatives, including the Little Lakes Beach and Pavilion Project, the Lavallee Trails that are used by the Beachburg Public School, and participates in the cleanup days across the township. So again, Cam's outstanding leadership and volunteerism throughout Whitewater and Renfrew County makes him deserving of these awards. And I think he's watching right now, so on behalf of all of us and all of Renfrew County, we just want to say thank you very much and appreciate everything that you have done.
Round of applause, please.
Yes, absolutely. And there's his picture with his award, and yeah, it was a pleasure to do that. And the only other item I had that came out of county, I just wanted to keep everyone informed regarding the request for delegated authority. I have asked County Council to reconsider the recommendation that was made at Development and Property Committee that the postponed definitely date of August 21 be expedited and brought forward to February of 2021. So after the inaugural meeting that will be coming up here in December 15th with the newly appointed chair and committee members, I will request a notice of motion be brought forward to the DMP in January. And we're also going to hopefully have a requested delegation that Mayor Moore and our planner, EDO Ivan Burton, will come as a delegate as a delegation to that committee meeting. So we will be putting that forward. So I will continue to keep you apprised as we move through this process, and trust me, it is a process, but I think at the end of it, we'll hopefully get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's nice that that delegation of authority hasn't gone to sleep. It's still in motion. So, Councillor Umstead.
I can't follow that one up, so I got to pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McLaughlin.
I'm the same. I can't follow that, but I do have one announcement. The Whitewater Library Board are having a fundraiser. They're selling tickets on, I know there's 4 prizes. One of them is a Christmas dinner in a basket. The tickets are $5 a book, and I think it's 3 tickets in the book. So this is the only fundraiser that they're doing this year.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLaughlin, do you also know a date on the fishing derby in February? Is that going ahead this year?
The fishing derby is going ahead, but it's a different program.
Okay.
As far as I know, there isn't one day. I think they're fishing for a week. I'm not positive.
Okay, but it's still a go.
But it's still a go.
Okay, thank you. Can you get back to us then with the dates and stuff?
I will.
Thank you.
I will probably have them at the next meeting. I can find out exactly what's going on.
Okay, thank you, because we need good news. We haven't had much in the last while. Councillor Mackay.
Not at this time.
Councillor Jackson.
None at this time.
Councillor Nicholson.
I just wanted to highlight our opening ceremonies for the Westmeath and District Recreation's ramp went on last Friday. Small hitches with the video recorder guy, but it got posted online and has already had 1,600 views. So as expected, it has been well received in the community. And I just wanted to make sure that thank Mayor for coming out and speaking, and Brenda Grady also spoke. So if you have a chance to want to view it, it's on the WDRA Facebook page.
Great, thank you. I have no announcements. So now we will move on to reports. Item 6.1, Blue Box Program. Recommendation that the Council of Township of Whitewater Region receive this report for information purposes as it relates to the new Blue Box Program regulation, as well as the proposed transition schedule for Ontario municipalities. Motion and seconder, please. Councillor Mackay and Councillor Jackson. And this goes to Steve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So I've brought some information to council previous with respect to the transition of the Blue Box program to full producer responsibility. It's a slow process that it's going to transpire right into 2025 to get all Ontario municipalities on board. This is just a little update in terms of that right now they're working on, well, they've put forth a draft regulation. The Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority, working with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. So the draft regulation has been on the Environmental Regulatory Registry for some time now, and it actually expires tomorrow. So municipalities, the public, anybody has had opportunity to comment. And the draft regulation, as I've listed in the in my report, it's focusing on a common collection system throughout the province for blue box, standardizing the materials collected. It really wants to expand the blue box program into areas that don't currently have a program, and that may be simply because they have a population of less than 5,000 people. Because in the province, if your municipality is very small, you don't have to provide anything. We are over 5,000 people, so we have to provide some kind of system. So those are the real big ones. Is to standardize the what is collected and how it's collected. So what I will emphasize on, what's really going to affect us, is the fact that we have our collection contractor currently, and I know we're not alone on this. We have our collection contractor collecting commercial establishments under our contract. When this goes full producer responsibility, they don't collect commercial. It's strictly covering residential. So when it comes time for us to transition, which it looks like, according to the province, is going to be 2025, which is kind of what we selected. So at that point, we're going to have to determine how we're going to continue to service our commercial establishments in terms of blue box collection. And another note is that our depot at the landfill where we collect recyclables, the new collection, the full producer responsibility, they're not going to have to cover that as well. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue. But aside from that, the regulation is there to make sure that it's a seamless transition, or ideally a seamless transition from municipal run program to full producer responsibility. So we'll see how it goes. I brought a report to council, and we passed a resolution selecting 2025 as our preferred transition date, and that went to AMO. And the province has most of Eastern Ontario actually transitioning in 2025. So that's really, yeah, that's about the only highlights. Yeah, so is there any questions on where we are currently and where we're heading?
Councillor Mackay?
Have you heard anything about this, I think, a federal ban on plastic bags?
Well, funny enough, the provincial regulation wants to focus on collection of small single-use plastics, and the feds are trying to ban them. So how that's going to work out, I honestly can't answer that at this point. I don't know.
I had the farmer market in Carp. I went to paper bags, and everybody seems to be able to accept them, and they're not very expensive actually, so it's good. Thank you.
Okay. I guess that plastic bag issue is something we'll have to deal with it whenever somebody from the province sends us a letter and says we shall. So until then, it's all go, because there doesn't seem to be a push in our area to get rid of them. Like, the grocery stores aren't talking, they haven't switched to paper, so until it gets pushed upon everybody, and will come a time when we have to make a change. So,
and unfortunately, municipalities don't have. We don't know what kind of packaging is coming out on an ongoing basis. we're stuck trying to find markets to deal with this packaging that we have no control over. And that's another reason that it really should go full producer responsibility, because they're the ones determining the packaging that's coming out. We just try to keep up and try to find markets for it. Well, right now, there's no market for plastic bags.
Yep, I agree. And
So,
we're at the mercy. Sometimes the blue box people take them and sometimes they don't. So, anyway, any other questions? Councillor Nicholson?
Steve, if you can clarify, are farms considered commercial?
I can't truly answer that. I would consider them curbside, as they're collected currently, I would consider them a residence.
Yeah. I just, the only thing is,
Our contractor would pick up them as a resident, not a
Yeah.
business.
sorry, I'll rephrase it because that's not what I was hoping for. Right now, bale wrap, as an example, is a huge thing of plastic, right? And it's not accepted. There's no system in place for that. Are they planning to make that bale wrap commercial responsibility? Like, are we gonna have the farmers paying more for it, but no place to take it?
It's going to, as far as I can see in the foreseeable future, it's going to continue to be landfill.
Yeah.
It has to be clean to recycle it, and that's a major challenge to keep that clean.
Yeah, maybe Dave can comment here.
Councillor Mackay?
For one thing, that ag bags, that plastic, they can if you wash it. But the wrap for bales, they don't take it. It's cheap plastic, very cheap.
So it's not reusable per se.
That's right. And I tried to burn it once. I had a great big 12-foot pancake of molten bags. So don't do it.
So just the two concerns that and I only ask this in case we monitor it or see some opportunity to advocate, is one, the financial impact on the farmers, if we start to charge them for something they can't even recycle. And I say we, the bigger we. And from an environmental concern, we have a lot of this agricultural waste. We need to, as a larger, we have a responsibility to advocate for it to find a way to be recycled, or at least decrease the impact on landfill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to continue to be landfilled until some company tries to recycle it. And it's been attempted. We did it in PEI as well. We tried it. We just couldn't do it because you can't keep it clean enough to actually recycle it. It didn't work. And that burden on farmers, they're paying at the landfill right now. But after January 1st, with our new user fees, they're going to pay substantially more. So will that hinder them wanting to take it to landfill and perhaps burn it? Yeah, it may. So I don't know.
Well, hopefully we have organizations like our OMFRA and that are trying to advocate to find better solutions for this long term, because to me that's where it needs to be centered. Anyway, I'm going to redress a second, and yes, there's only two questions. This one goes to the treasurer. We spend $339,000 a year on recycling. Are we expecting by 2025 for that to be zero?
I don't know if I have the answer for you. I would assume that, like, in relation to being funded, as I'm assuming that's where that question's coming from, I would think that we're probably going to be out of pocket, and if we're going to, we may have a revenue source from the province if they're going to reimburse us, but I don't know how that's going to work. I've had no literature on how that's going to actually come back to me, us as the municipality and finance. So.
Yeah, perfect. My understanding is that we shouldn't have to be collecting for that, but it'll be interesting to see how the mechanism comes in place to compensate the collectors for what they're collecting.
I can just hazard a guess is that we would be somewhat of the middle person. If I don't really, I don't shouldn't speak too much to because I don't know the ins and outs of how it's going to work, but I would assume it could be similar to the livestock claims where we really are the middle. We process the payment, we get the payment, give it out, same type of deal. It's so that's the only thing I can really add at this point.
The only thing I would add is because of the 2025 date, there will be other municipalities that'll be the guinea pig. And so And this matches up to our contract date, so there'll be clarity, but down the road.
Well, I did notice in the last report that came out that some of the municipalities, not very many, I think there was 5 of them across Ontario that had actually reported back that were opted for 2023 as opposed to us and most of Brantford County going 2025. So they're going to make strides there and get it all worked out by the time 2025 comes along and we get there. I hope. So.
Lane,
Yeah.
Lane had a comment.
Councillor McCart.
I was watching a program on recycling, and most of the packaging is either going to be aluminum, paper, very little plastic, and bottles aren't worth anything. You might grind them up at the dump for covered, but they're not really, you can't recycle them. It's just sand and it makes bad bottles. So really our recycling is going to be 3 items: paper, aluminum, and I guess glass if we want to use it ourselves. I don't know.
Hard to
Do
say.
something with it.
Yep. Making changes.
Yeah.
Lane, you had your hand up.
I think I might want to add to Sean's comment to the question. So when it does switch, it'll be fully the producer's responsibility. So the township won't be involved in recycling at all. So that once 25 comes, they have 2 years to have the same program as we ran, and then after that, who knows what they do. But at the township, we won't be dealing. I believe we won't be dealing with the calls and such.
It's going to be interesting.
It will be.
Very.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just wondering, Steve, do we have any way of monitoring the blue box since we've now had the free garbage, the 2 bags? I'm just wondering if our blue box, how that has, if it has decreased, or if we're still maintaining that same level of recycling. I just don't know if residents are actually still using the blue box to the full capacity without having to pay for garbage. I don't know if we have any way of monitoring that or not.
Well, all we have is the annual tonnage. That's a report we get from our contractor at the end of each year. So really, at the end of 2020, I can compare it to former years, and that's really the only mechanism we have to do that.
Okay, I would appreciate if we could do it. It'd just be of interest to see if
Sure.
there's any change
Our,
in
our,
that.
our tonnage has stayed very, very consistent.
Oh, well, that's promising.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Nicholson.
So this is just a thought I'm going to throw out there in case it comes up, but with it being phased in over a number of years, and assuming that it's producer responsibility, so you're going to see Walmart charge 5 cents more on an item to include its recycling fee or whatever the case is. Are the residents of Whitewater going to be paying that 5 cents extra at Walmart and paying to have it picked up at the door? Like, how are they going to phase in so that the consumer doesn't get taxed twice? Once by the consumer, or once by the producer, and then once by the municipality until we phase out?
Okay, I only see one hand up. Councillor Jackson.
Our ratepayers currently do not pay for recycle pickup. They pay for garbage pickup. There is no charge for recycling pickup.
But it's on their taxes. It's still on their taxes, though.
So it's through their tax bill that they're paying for that, but they are not paying that garbage rate, the waste collection rate. That is a separate rate, is just for waste collection, not recycling. So it's in our tax rates, it's not the user fee. I don't know if that's what you were referring to?
Just to clarify, the 156 actually includes both curbside contracts. So it includes the recycling pickup and the garbage pickup. So the likelihood is when that gets phased out, they won't be paying for it. However, there is some funds we get from the province for Blue Box, but again, that funding source will be eliminated. So the treasurer, I think he can add to that, but the The 156 covers the processing cost of recycling, the curbside pickup cost for recycling, and the curbside pickup costs of garbage. Because oftentimes people will say to us, well, I did put garbage out before, and we explained to them that the rate covers both aspects of it. In our case, that's how our fee is structured. I know in other municipalities it's changing. So our 156 covers our contracted cost with Miller and the processing cost with Ottawa Valley Waste Recycling Center, and a little bit contribution to reserve.
I stand corrected.
But I think the question is, to the councillor's point, the transition is the transition. So you can either be the guinea pig in 2023 and save yourself some money, but get a lot of headaches, or in our case, and then if you're in a contract with clauses that have been, so in our case, we would rather, I think, not be the guinea pigs and close out our contract with Miller, because I don't know how the government's going to deal with all those curbside collection contracts that exist and the other clauses that are part of it. So for us, LV, Pembroke, the people to our west, their time frame on their contracts is similar. So it's a bit of a wait and see, and I think some of those questions would be a John Yakabuski provincial government follow-up.
No, perfect. And that's the only thing. If we have a chance to advocate or ask those questions, that's the whole reason I tabled it. Thank you.
It's going to be quite a mystery until we actually get pieces of paper saying what we're going to be doing. So until then, our hands are tied. Further questions, or are we moving on? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. We're on to 6.2. Pitch-in week. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region receive this report for information purposes, as it relates to Pitch-in Canada's annual Pitch-in Week litter campaign, as well as the County of Renfrew's Adopt a Road program. Motion and a seconder, please. Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Mackay. And this goes to Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is strictly for information purposes. It just speaks a little bit on Pitch-in Week, which is very popular. It's been going on for several years. We used to, the township used to, several years ago, actually register and collect the bags and then hand them out to whoever wanted them. We were really just playing middleman, and there was really no need to do that because anybody can go on their website and determine how many people or what kind of little project they want to do for litter collection, and they can have bags directly sent to their group. Anyway, it's a great program. It's been going on for several years. And also just wanted to speak on the Adopt a Road campaign that the county has. And again, anybody living on a county road, or whether they live on that road or not, and they want to adopt that road and keep it aesthetically looking terrific, they can contact the county, go through their application process. It's very, it's a little tedious, but it's all in the name of safety for the county, actually for both programs. So again, information. We could even perhaps look at doing our own Adopt a Road program. We would have to administer it in the department, but it's something we may want to look at. So again, information purposes.
Be part of the Adopt a Road program on their own roads, or it was just the county that did it?
It's just the county. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Jackson, please.
I hesitate to think that Whitewater Region would like to get into this Adopt a Road, but it would be nice if we did. There is an uptake at the start, but then I know Laurentian Valley did one, and then it's kind of gone downhill from there on in. It's very difficult. It's not difficult to maintain, that's for sure. We purchased bins, and in those bins there was gloves and vests and garbage bags and stuff like that. So the person that's in charge of their road comes and picks up the bin, does it for the week, and then comes back with the bins. And of course during COVID that's going to be near impossible to do. But it is helpful. My only concern is that it is only, it seems to be that they uptake this once a year, and perhaps it needs to be done more than once a year. If we do adopt a program, I would like to see a more active once every 2 months that they go out to do the roads rather than once a year. But certainly in the spring is always helpful to do that pitch-in week right alongside the pitch-in week. But it can work if people follow through, and I guess if the staff follow through with the people that have signed up.
Steve?
Yeah, so we've never really, the township's never really been like, we've never really gone out and collected garbage. The odd time we have, but just a point of interest, there's groups out there that go out and they're not involved in, they haven't registered with pitch-in week. They just go out and clean up their roads, and I think that's fantastic. And we've always let them into the landfill for free, and we'll continue to do that. There's actually a lot of groups out there that come in every spring with roadside pickup, and I encourage them to continue it. This is just more of a Canadian campaign they may want to become involved in, and if that's the case, that's terrific as well.
And if I can just add, as part of the strat plan, looking at these types of programs was identified, and I think to Councillor Jackson's point and to Steve's point, there's a way of maybe protecting the township and protecting people through that process, but also like our parks. There's a lot of park space out there, and any volunteer help and community ownership for those spaces is important. So this gives you an idea of the existing programs, and we'll take a look based on the feedback and come back at a later date. But it was identified as part of that kind of stewardship, people kind of caring for the area and the township. And so we would look at not just the road part, but the park, and learn from other people before we would implement that. So we'll do that over the course of 2021.
Okay. Councillor McLaughlin? Sorry, do you have your hand up?
Just to further up on this Adopt a Road, I've seen it working, and it's nice, but there's signs there and recognizing the people, and it doesn't happen anymore. It's been phased out. So it's hard to keep every year, to keep the same people. I know that one time the Queen's Line was done from one end to the other. Well, it doesn't happen anymore. It was a spearhead by the Women's Institute at that time. To Steve's comment, I know that it's well accepted at the landfill because I'm involved or was involved with a section of road that we do every year, and when you go there was no problems at all with it. But I like the idea of Adopt a Road, but the problem is that it's to try to keep them motivated to do it every year, and that's where I see that it kind of falls down.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Nicholson?
An experience that I've had in the past that I'd encourage the staff to consider, because I love the idea, and I think it's the right thing for us to try to encourage that, cleaning up our public spaces, like our parks, like our roads, like our ditches. I grew up out in Saskatchewan, and the way the municipalities ran it out there is the 4-H group would go, and we'd get $200 if we did this road. And we just leave the bags at the corner, and township come and pick it up. So we might be able to incorporate in our partnership grants a certain amount of money set aside for minor hockey, like all the youth organizations. That would get them involved, that would give them money for their support, and we wouldn't be left with a legacy program that we're trying to maintain every year with names. I just throw it out there as another option. Thank you.
So you're looking to have that on your portfolio? Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.3, 2021 meeting calendar. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the 2021 meeting calendar, including the all-staff training day on September 16, 2021. Motion and a seconder, please. Reeve Regier and Councillor Jackson. This goes to Rob.
Yes, just because we're having some mic issues at the other end of the room. So this is in keeping with the procedural bylaw about when we meet. It's a little less complicated than last year, just I think based on where statutory holidays fall. The only thing I'll point out is over kind of Christmas break in the summer, the procedure bylaw talks about generally a 6-week break. So we have 3 meetings scheduled this December, so we're recommending that we skip the January 6th meeting just because staff have to work on reports and the way the Christmas holiday lands. And then we're including on here 2 special meetings for the budget, very in keeping with this year and last year's schedule. And this calendar, Carmen, has ensured that you understand the dates that we know so far for the conferences that apply to council, and then the due dates, just so you know in terms of when. The all-day staff training has been super helpful in previous years. We didn't have it this year in October because of COVID and trying to figure out how to do it. So we've been looking at training on, for instance, the code of conduct, and the managers, what they did instead is they went out and trained them individually. The benefit of having everybody in the room is, when it's safe to do so, is everybody gets the same message on, and we focus mostly on health and safety, code of conduct issues. It's also a good way for everybody to understand what everybody's working on, and we've used it also to kind of clarify some, even internally, on how the budget process works and getting some staff feedback. So we're recommending moving that up to September for that specific purpose, because it's a good way to engage everybody. Everybody's doing their own thing. So we're hopeful by September 21st it'll be safe to do so, and if not, we will not have it, but if it's safe, then we will. So the other one is, last year we didn't schedule for July and August. Turns out we met a lot in July and August, so it was at the call of the chair, with the chair called the meetings. What Carmen put in here is 1 meeting at the beginning of July and 1 meeting at the end of August, so that people can block them if those meetings are not required. But we've learned from not having any, and turns out that we scheduled a lot because there were a lot of planning items that needed to be dealt with. So that's what Carmen's put in the schedule.
Councillor Jackson.
A couple of things. I looked at the stat days and just wondering why December 24th is marked off.
Sorry, yeah. So our current policy has the 24th and the 31st as half days. So we're not recommending any changes to the policy. So the 27th and the 28th are actually the observance of the 25th and 26th. And then
so again, the 24th is marked off the full day. The 31st, there's nothing marked.
No, so it should be the 24th a half and the 31st a half. I know in other municipalities, sometimes I think Laurentian Valley last year traded off the 31st for a full day on the 24th.
Whitewater.
No, we didn't do it
here.
here.
You didn't do it?
We didn't do it, but we can. So if council feels strongly about being closed on the 24th, but currently our HR policies, which are coming to council, have a half day on the 24th and a half day on the 31st. So we would have to move that as an amendment if council supports for 2021, closing on the 24th and opening on the 31st. Sorry, I forgot about that one.
Okay, and I'm just wondering, with regards to start times for the council meetings, I did notice in the procedural bylaw, all start times of council meetings every Wednesday that we meet is 4:45. I'm just wondering, if we continue to do the 4:45, should we not be providing food to council members, or how are we going to address this? Because we have gone quite late on council meetings, and I come from work. There are several people that do come from work, and I don't think it's fair to start, leave for work at 8 o'clock and not get home until 8 o'clock and eat supper at 8. It's just too long of a day after you eat lunch at 12. So I'm proposing either provide supper every Wednesday, whether or not you think it's a short meeting, which doesn't ever turn out to be, or it is. It actually is a short meeting. It's just it's difficult to function on an empty stomach and function cohesively with the kind of budget we're dealing with and the kind of issues. So that's, I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, or we change the time to 5:30 so people can eat before the meeting at home.
So just on that one, when we polled council at the midpoint about meeting time, 5 of 7 councillors supported a 4 o'clock timeframe, and when we discussed it, we suggested 4:45 as a means for some gap. What we've tried to do of late meeting in person is 6:30 being the kind of the latest where we wouldn't provide food, but ensure that there'd be snacks. So I think it's finding that balance. The other thing I hope, and I've been here 4 years, December 16th, is I hope that those marathon meetings and all the hard issues we've dealt with. My hair did not have a strand of gray when I started, but it does have a lot now. So so I think there's different ways of trying to ensure the meetings aren't marathons. But I think ensuring that people can work and make it through a meeting with sustenance when required, I think is important. So I do want to say that from the overtime, which is only one factor, it has reduced overtime a great deal, which is helpful. But at the same time, we can find that balance. There is a budget for when food is required, so I don't think that needs to be changed. So it's just, I guess, on the direction on when to do so.
I move that it be provided every meeting date.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLaughlin?
Yeah, I have to agree with Councillor Jackson, because personally, I have a problem, and I need to have regular meals. I think I like the 4:45. I can even go earlier, but I understand that some can't. But I think two things. For me, it's a bit of a medical problem, but also I think what happens is you get to a point where you're not making good and wise decisions, which, the cost, we're reducing the cost of overtime. So I have to agree with Councillor Jackson. Are we going to, are we not? If you're not going to, just let me know and I can brown bag. I have no problem either if that's, but I think it's to know whether or not is the big issue. I think everybody could, manage it one way or the other, but to come and go, expect something and then it's not. I think, like Councillor Jackson, just long meeting, short meeting makes no difference.
Rebrigger?
Yeah, no, I would agree with Councillor Jackson and Councillor McLaughlin as well. And you just can never time a meeting. Let's be very clear that we can come in here and think we have a short agenda, but we get into something and debating something or discussing something. And so anyway, I would absolutely be in favor of that as well. Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, we can take that as direction. There is a budget established for that purpose, and I think to the point of the savings in overtime is substantial. Although we don't drag out every staff person unless they have a report, the savings from an overtime perspective is substantial by moving the time, so we'll figure that out. And if I could, to Councillor Jackson's point, is could we get direction from council on whether you would support closing the office fully on the 24th instead of a half day on the 24th and a half day on the 31st, and then we can settle that. I'm pretty sure, now that I think about it, when I talked to Carmen, that was, I think, my recommendation that I didn't articulate. But if council's supportive, I think for staff and their families, closing from the 24th to the 28th would be fine, and then we'd be open to the public for 3 days the following week.
I'm in support of that.
Okay, so now we have two motions on the floor. So because the calendar was previous to this, let's finish off the calendar. So the motion on the floor, is the motion on the floor by?
Well, on the meals issue, as I mentioned, you do have budget for that
Yeah,
purpose.
but we're
so
going to do separate motions, are we not?
I would say you may not need a motion if it's the general consensus of council. I think it's just a question of staff ensuring that there's that we do that. Okay. I don't think you need a motion to do that.
Okay, so let's go to the calendar. Consensus around the table, a show of hands, those in favor of closing on December 24, but open half-day December 31st?
No, so we would be fully open on the 31st instead of 2 half-days on the 24th and 31st.
Okay, sorry, yep, okay, so the motion would be closed totally on the 24th, and that's all employees, right? Closed on the 24th and open for regular business on the 31st. And does this affect the union then, or do they still half a day?
So their agreement doesn't speak to it, and so we've had this conversation with them before. It's management allows them to go early, and so we've treated them the same way. We've treated all staff the same. The collective agreement allows us to let them leave early. So.
Okay, so as long as all council is aware, we're voting on all employees, not just part?
To be honest, we're not adding closures. We're just shifting the closure from 2
Yes.
half-days to 1 full day.
Yeah, okay. Councillor McLaughlin?
Yeah, I don't see, I mean, if we have to have, I wouldn't be in favor of paying overtime for the 24th if we have to have people out there to plow the roads. I don't see that.
Well, it's a contractual issue, right?
No, I don't think so. Whatever the contract is, the contract's a contract, and I would agree with the contract. But if it's not in the contract, then I wouldn't be in favor.
Okay, CAO?
I think to your point, the collective agreement
Stays in
is
play.
what gets followed, and if there's a snow event, there's a snow event.
But if there's no snow event, then Public Works could have the day off, or?
Yeah, like if it snows and it's January 1st or if it's Christmas Day, they come in. So I'm just going to pull up the collective agreement quickly.
Okay. Councillor Jackson?
So I think Rob mentioned that it's not addressed in the contract, but I think what Councillor McLaughlin is saying is if the roads department does have to attend on the 24th to a snow event, then they are not paid overtime. If they don't have to attend, then they get the day. But if they do have to attend, it's not overtime, is what we're suggesting.
Okay, we'll see what's in the contract. But I would think they would be entitled to half a day 24, half a day 31st. No, I'm thinking it's in the contract, but I could be wrong.
Sorry, my computer is slow. So if we can clarify that.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Maybe the CAO could clarify and get back to us on that one.
So do you want to vote on this now, or you want to table it until?
I think what we could do is take it as direction for the office staff.
Yes.
And then what I'll do is I'll follow up on the union implications, and if it needs to be clarified further, we'll bring it back to council. If not, I'll provide that response.
Okay, so motion is for non-union staff to be off December 24 and work full day December 31st. Correct? All in favor of that? Carried, thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to meals. Is that the proper
And
term?
then, so you approved, well, and I think meals, if everybody's generally okay, we will take it as direction. You don't need to,
Yeah,
to move
okay.
it. So it would just be on the original report to approve the calendar.
Yep. Oh, just a minute. Councillor Nicholson.
Just a comment on the calendar, just so we get back to that part. Last year we had the road tour, and I'd love to see it included and scheduled. I think that was an extremely valuable event. Yeah, but if we can insert it into the calendar where it makes sense. And I don't know if we'd want to counterbalance that if we did a spring road tour or something, but with a facility tour, if that would be possible. Like, I still haven't had the opportunity to see all the different facilities, and I'd love to meet Randy and go through the garage one day, or meet the fire chief. And not saying we do it all, but we just pick one or two one in the fall, and we go as a crew and we visit that. And then we do a road trip around all the roads in the spring, just to get us out of the office and see some of the things that we have to decide on. If you could insert those in the calendar, please.
Great idea.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. And Lane's computer was working quicker than mine, and my memory served me right. It's not contained in the collective agreement. So what is contained is, so the motion you passed is in order. So if it doesn't snow, they can have the full day on the 24th, but if it snows, they'll have to work it. So that's,
If it snows, do they get paid regular 8 hours, or is it half-time, 4 hours regular, 4 hours holiday?
so they would have to work it. What we've done is they've followed what everybody else has had, and Article 20 speaks to statutory and civic holidays. So we would.
The 24th is not.
24th and New Year's Eve is not listed.
Okay. So it's clear as mud then?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and we've decided on food, and are we moving on now? Okay. Now we move on to 6.4, final draft budget documents. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region receive the updated draft 2021 budgets ahead of the public meeting schedule for December 9, 2020. Motion and a seconder, please. Councillor Mackay and Councillor Olmsted. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll move through this one fairly quickly in the interest of not contributing to the marathon meeting. We won't beat this one with a dead horse. We've had many meetings regarding the budget, and this is just an update of them all together. So we're calling for a 2.5 levy increase. We have a continued investment in the community improvement plan, recreation and tourism community grants, which we're continuing to recommend investing in. The township will have a significant investment in infrastructure of $5.3 million while also maintaining the gravel road program. And then we have just found out in the last couple of days that we will be receiving some OCIF funding, somewhere in the tune of about $246,000. So we'll be looking at using that to possibly offset one of the projects where we were going to use debt. So anyway, that's just kind of where we're at. We have a public meeting on December 9th. December 16th, we would have the adoption of bylaws, and then sometime in the new year, May or June, we would pass the tax rates. And I'll turn it back to the chair.
Any questions? Councillor Jackson?
Thank you, Sean, for your hard work, and staff for your hard work as well, preparing this budget. I know it's been a tough go. And for all those Olmsted Jeffrey Lakers, if they can stop emailing, it is in the budget. We are approving it for a debenture. So I appreciate your emails, but it is something that needs to be done. We understand that, and that's why it's in the budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Olmsted.
I was looking for the exact same thing in the budget, and I for sure I see it here. So thanks to Councillor Jackson. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Thank you. Seeing nothing else? Motion to accept? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.5, improving connectivity. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region support Cogeco Connections application to the improving connectivity of for Ontario (ICON) program with the non-nominal financial contribution in the amount of $7,000. Motion and a seconder, please. Councillor Mackay and Councillor Nicholson. And this goes to Ivan.
Thank you so much. So this report pertains to, in one part, supporting Cogeco in their application through the next phase 2 of the ICON funding program, as well as providing a financial contribution in the amount of $7,000. So the township staff and through the liaison with Councillor Nicholson have been communicating with our local internet providers, including Cogeco, NRTC, and Whitewater Internet. And we have, in the month of August, we did provide letters of support both to NRTC and Cogeco for their proposed expansion projects within the community. NRTC's expansion project was more in the Westmeath area, while Cogeco's expansion project was in Foresters Falls to service 78 homes with a 1 gigabyte symmetrical service. So that's a really, really fast speed. Currently, they're serviced by 5 megabytes over 1 megabytes, which is common in the township, but relatively slow, if you will. So the application process through ICON is a two-phase process. When Cogeco sought out support from the township back in August, they knew they would require some type of financial contribution from the township to support their application. So the ICON funding only funds 25% of their project. So this is a Cogeco project. And the estimated value of the project's in around the range of about $300,000. So initially they had requested that we cover a larger percentage, 61,000, and we had indicated to them that we would discuss that as part of our budget deliberations, but they've now since come back to us saying that we don't need to fund that large portion, just a small, or I say small, non-nominal amount of $7,000. So ultimately we're here now. We've budgeted as part of the 2021 budget deliberations. This financial contribution will not need to be provided until if they do obtain approval of their phase 2 component of their application. So they have to file the next phase by December 11th, and then they'll hear probably in the spring whether or not they've received approval. So the 2021 budget deliberation did include $65,000 primarily for radio communications for the fire department, which is an antenna tower to service their radios, which is approximately $40,000 to $50,000 of that $65,000 budget line. So this $7,000 would be taken from that, the leftover money and leftover allocation for that budget line. And also we would also communicate with other providers to see if there's any other way we could support them financially in their projects. So this was budgeted in 2021 as part of the budget that Treasurer Crozier has provided to Council, and we're looking for Council support on this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Nicholson?
I just want to thank Ivan for the work that he's put. I mean, this short presentation doesn't represent the hours and hours he and Lane and other members of the team have spent discussing this stuff, because you can't get into the discussions about it until you learn what it is, and I can't even begin to tell you exactly all that. But Ivan, thank you. And I know 7,000 doesn't seem like a lot, especially when we're talking about a $7 million budget. But it's the fact that we're partnering. Like, we're at the point now where we can come to the table with these guys and say, we want to be part of this. And like I even said, there's other suppliers in our community, and we're just as open to working with them as we are with the Cogeco as presented today. So I think this is a great first step, and I think it's a big thanks to Ivan and of course Lane in the background.
Thank you. Okay, motion to accept. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Ivan. Now we move on to 6.6, sale of land. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region direct staff to proceed with the sale of public tender of vacant lands in the industrial park, specifically located in lots 26, concession B, east of Muskrat Lake, in the former Township of Westmeath, and now in the Township of Whitewater Region, and described as parts 1 and 2 of Plan 49R-18964. Motion and motion and seconder, please. Councillor Jackson and Councillor Mackay. This goes to the CAO. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a policy dealing with surplus land, but industrial park lands are exempt from that. However, we're trying to kind of be in keeping with it. So these lands, and if you go to the attachment, they're at the very end of Industrial Park Road on the left. When Glasshouse Botanics decided to come to our township, they looked to lease to own the lands in purple, parcel 1, with the potential to purchase both parcel 1 and parcel 2. So they did purchase parcel 1, and they're operating and being very successful. I think it's 50 jobs in the community, which is great. And they're hoping when COVID subsides to actually have council through, because it is an impressive building. However, they've confirmed that they're no longer interested in the lands across the street and that they have sufficient lands and they've cleared the land. If you've been in that area, you can see kind of the status of their operation, and they have lots of room for future expansion. So they've confirmed, and the agreement we had with them has actually expired in terms of that option as well. So they don't need the land. The option actually expired, so everybody's kind of on the same page. What we're recommending is, instead of spending the money for evaluation, that we proceed with as a minimum bid on the tender of $75,500. That's based on the historical sales in the industrial park, and we would do it by public tender to avoid commissions. We've seen some interest in those lands generally, so we would proceed with that probably likely after the Christmas break and do it by public tender. If we're unsuccessful at that time, we would let you know, but we would bring that forward after the public tender.
Any questions? Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, just for anybody that may be watching, roughly how many acres is that, Rob? That's for sale.
I don't have the. I don't think it says on here, and I need glasses now, so I don't know how. I could confirm the size of the property. So it's the lands abutting Ladd's Auto to the farm fields across the street.
So it's the two lots in blue, right?
It's the two lots in blue, and the roundabout part 11 would remain in the township's ownership.
Yes, the roundabout is for us, right? Snow
We
plowing,
keep
et
it.
cetera.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we move on to item 7, notice of motion. 7.1, recommendation, whereas the County of Renfrew is undertaking a review of Brooms Creek Dam situated in Forsters Falls as a Schedule B municipal class environmental assessment, and whereas the Township of Whitewater region has received feedback from the public, participated in the Public Information Center, and whereas the process has included the completion of numerous studies which have shown that option 3, replacement of the structure, as the one with the least or little impact with regard to technical, environmental, heritage, structural, and community considerations, and whereas replacement is generally a cost-effective option compared to other options being do nothing or full decommissioning. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region support option 3, being a full replacement of the existing Brooms Creek Dam in Forsters Falls, and advise the County of Renfrew accordingly, and further that the County of Renfrew be requested to review road safety and active transportation improvements when replacing the abutting culvert and resurfacing Forsters Falls Road. Motion and a seconder, please. Reeve Rigier and Councillor Mackay. And this goes to?
This was a notice of motion from the Reeve. And if I can just, my tag team partner, Lane Clearo, has advised that the parcel that we're selling in the industrial park is just over 8 acres.
Okay, but that's in total 8 acres.
It's 8.6 acres for approximately for the two parcels.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving back to where we were, this is just, this has been sent to, or is this going to be sent to Renfrew County?
It would be sent to Renfrew County. It's just to confirm the township's position with regard to this, and I don't know if Reeve Rigier, as the mover, would like to speak to it.
Okay, Reeve Rigier?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's self-explanatory here, and I am hopeful that, and see no problem, I'm hoping that that we're supported here with this. So once again, as anything moves forward, we'll be apprised here and see what's going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors have any questions on this? Councillor Nicholson?
I just wanted to thank the Reeve for putting this forward. I think this is a great attempt to influence the county on this. The thing that I did notice in the presentation is the community considerations were thin. They hadn't gathered a whole bunch of information on that. Now, to counter it, the community is providing all their feedback by December 8th, is that right, Reeve? Or December 7th? So, and this motion, on behalf of the community, stresses those community considerations. So I think it's a very good way for us to fill out that report and make sure that that doesn't get overlooked. So thank you, Reeve.
Dot our I's and cross our T's. Councillor McLaughlin.
Yeah, I'm quite in support of this. I think the community's in support of it. There was like 150 signatures at the store on a petition, which was driven by Dave Alexander's put a lot of work into this as well. Totally agree. I just want to make sure that we keep updated on any decisions, or I would like to be known before it's made public what their final decision is. So if that's possible, I just want to be kept in the loop. I think it's very important, and the community is certainly way behind it. So I think we need to be kept in the loop to know where it's going and what the thoughts are.
Okay, thank you. And I think that falls under Reeve Regier.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll absolutely do that on behalf of council here for sure. Councillor McLaughlin, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No other questions? Call for, you have a question? Councillor Mackay, please.
Just want to make a comment about Renfrew County. In 1985, probably, they tore down the old mill in Osceola and took the dam out, but they also took the rapids out. That's why we have a little more nitrate in our lake, and I don't necessarily trust them. So tell them that.
She's on it. She's
Okay.
on top of it. Thank you.
I will trust the professionals.
Okay, seeing no other questions, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Thanks, Ivan. Now we move on to 8.1, adoption of minutes. Recommendation of the Council of Township of Recommendation of the Council of Township of Whitewater Region approve the regular minutes of November 18, 2020, and the special closed minutes, understanding that they remain confidential in November 25, 2020. Motion and seconder, please. Councillor Mackay and Councillor Jackson. Thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Correspondence, I see nothing, so I'm assuming there's nothing. Sure, we can. Okay, but seeing nothing under correspondence. So now we move on to item 11, bylaws. 20-12-1344. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 20-12-1344, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting of November 25 and December 2nd, 2020, be taken as read and passed. Motion and a seconder, please. Reeve Regier and Councillor Mackay. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Now the only thing left is closed session, so we'll be going into closed session. Do I read this now? Yes. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region move into closed session at 6:37 p.m. as permitted under Section 9 of the procedural bylaw, with the CAO participating in the meeting to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, CAO's performance appraisal. Motion and a seconder, please. Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Olmsted. We are now closed at 6:38.
Could we take like a 2-minute break?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was going to wait till we went closed.